everyone, and I'm coming to you today with another presentation called Our Covenant. And I want to take a detailed look at what our covenant is as a people, Yasharaal, and why we, Yasharaal, are a covenanted people. It's very important to know this information, significance, the importance of who we are as a people is based on our covenant with Yahawah. So I'm going to answer a series of questions to help you understand all about the covenant. The first question, why does Yasharaal have and need a covenant with Yahawah? That's possibly the longest answer we will have. So I'm going to break that first question into two parts. The second one, what was the old covenant and what is the new covenant? The third question, what are the conditions which we, Yasharaal, are commanded to keep when covenanted with Yahawah? And the last question, are we upholding the correct covenant and are we observing his commands regarding his covenant? So the first question I'm going to take a look at is, why do we have and need a covenant with Shaddai? And we have to go from the very beginning. In the beginning, when Yahawah created Adam and Hawa, and I highlighted the name, Hawa, because in just about every text that we have, she's called Eve. And we know Eve is not her correct name. Eve is the name of the Queen of Heaven, but her correct Hebrew name or Oberai name is Hawa. So starting over again, in the beginning, when Yahawah created Adam and Hawa, he had an unspoken covenant with them. There was a harmonious relationship between them and him because they were created in his image and in his likeness, and there was no sin. After they sinned, that harmony that they had with him was broken. It was the result of them breaking the covenant that they had with him. They disobeyed the one and only commandment that governed the covenant. So let's go to Genesis 3, verse 8. And they heard the voice of Yahawah Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahawah Elohim amongst the trees in the garden. And Yahawah Elohim called unto Adam and said unto him, Ayaka, meaning, where are you? Now Yahawah Elohim, Yahawah is his name, Elohim is his title, meaning ascended glory. It wasn't as if Shaddai or Yahawah Elohim didn't know where they were. He knew what they were going to do before the foundation of the earth, of the world was laid. But he asked Adam this question to expose them in their sin. To explain is to expose. They were hiding from him, and he already knew why. But Adam needed to know why he automatically hid himself. He wasn't hiding himself before when they were in harmony together, but something changed in their relationship that caused Adam and Hawa to go hiding when the Most High came down to spend time with them in the garden. Before they sinned, Adam and Hawa were naked and unashamed. Let's look at Genesis 2:25. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. So the reason why they were hiding is because they were ashamed, because they were suddenly naked. So let's take a look at that to understand what exactly happened when they disobeyed. Adam and Hawa were not wearing clothes as we today wear clothes, but they were wearing a garment of light, as they were in the image of Hashaddai, who is light. The light that was in them was emanating outward, creating a garment of light that covered them. They were also bare before him as there was no sin, and they were in a harmonious relationship with him. But when sin entered in, they lost their light, and their nakedness was exposed. Sin transformed them from the similitude of the Father to the similitude of Satan, who was their deceiver. However, because of the mercy of Hashaddai, he did not do away with them, but preserved them by first removing them from the garden and then clothing them in brutish flesh, and subsequently after in animal skins like a garment. I cover more in detail about the fall in the presentation called The Two Trees. Let's look at Genesis 3, verse 21 to 24. Unto Adam also and to his wife did Yahawah make coats of skins and clothe them. Now I highlighted coats of skins and clothe them because we have been taught in the church that the Most High killed animals and then covered them with the animal skins. But they were first cloaked or covered in human flesh first. And we'll see that. And Yahawah Elohim said, Behold, a man has become as one of us to know good and evil, and now lest he puts forth his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. That doesn't sound like a complete sentence, but therefore Yahawah Elohim sent him forth from Hagan Odan, which is the Garden of Eden, to till the ground from where he was taken. Adam and Hawa were not created in the Garden of Eden. They were brought there. They were created in the land called Eldan. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of Hagan Odan Karawab Ayam, or cherubim, and a flaming sword that turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. So he did not want them to eat from the tree of life, and we'll see in a moment why. Now we're going to look at some books from the Apocrypha, and which will give us a clear picture, a more detailed picture of what Adam and Hawa went through after their sin. The book of Genesis does not give us a detailed account as to what they went through emotionally, spiritually, physically, when they disobeyed the Most High and they had to leave the garden. First book of Adam and Hawa, chapter 4, verse 2. And indeed, when Adam looked at his flesh, he saw that it was altered, and he cried bitterly. He and Hawa cried over what they had done. So when they transgressed the law, the one commandment that they had, something happened to alter what they looked like. Verse 8. And Adam said to Hawa, Look at your eyes and mine, which before beheld angels praising in heaven without ceasing. Now we do not see as we did. Our eyes have become of flesh. They cannot see like they saw before. Adam said again to Hawa, What is our body today compared to what it was in former days when we lived in the garden? So they saw the difference. They felt the difference because of sin. Chapter 8, verse 1 to 2. This is the same first book of Adam and Hawa. Then Adam cried and said, Oh, Elohim, when we lived in the garden and our hearts were lifted up, we saw the angels and sang praises in heaven, but now we can't see like we once saw. No, when we entered the cave, and that is the cave of treasures, which Yahawah gave to them to live in. It was a small sanctuary, and they call it the cave of treasures because he gave them little tokens from the garden of Odan to keep as keepsakes, right? He did have pity on them. Okay? So, no, when we entered the cave, all creation became hidden from us. Then Allah Yahawah said to Adam, when you were under subjection to me, you had a bright nature within you. And for that reason, could you see distant things? They were able to see into the spiritual realm because they were both spirit and physical. Right? They were comprised of both. So they were able to see into the spiritual realm while living here on the earth. But when they transgressed, that spiritual aspect of who they were died. That light was cut off. And so they were not able to see into the spiritual realm, to see when the angels were singing, or to hear the angels singing and praising the Most High. But after you transgressed, your bright nature was taken out of you, and it was not left in you to see distant things, but only things near to you, meaning the physical things in this physical realm, as is the ability of the flesh, for it is brutish. Now, chapter 13, verse 2. O Adam, so long as the good angel was obedient to me, and he's speaking of Satan now, a bright light rested on him and all his hosts, and these are the fallen ones that fell with Satan. But when he transgressed my commandment, I dispossessed him of that bright nature, and he became dark, meaning evil. And when he was in the heavens, in the realms of light, he knew nothing of darkness. But he transgressed, and I made him fall from the heavens onto the earth. And it was this darkness that came over him. But, O Adam, while in my garden and obedient to me, that bright light rested also on you. But when I heard of your transgression, I took from you that bright light. Yet, of my mercy, I did not turn you into darkness, but I made your body a body of flesh, over which I spread this skin in order that it may bear cold and heat. So the first thing that he did is to give them a body of flesh, so that they can bear cold and heat, the elements. Verse 8. But if I had let my wrath fall heavily on you, I should have destroyed you, and had I turned you into darkness, it would have been as if I had killed you. So it was his mercy that he took them out of the garden. It was his mercy. But in my mercy, I have made you as you are, flesh. When you transgressed my commandments, O Adam, I drove you from the garden and made you come forth into this land, which is the land of Eldan, where they were created, and commanded you to live in this cave, and darkness covered you. But the darkness that was covering him is not the same darkness that covered Satan. The darkness that has covered Satan is a permanent darkness. This darkness that is covering Adam is a temporary darkness, because the Most High knew that all of this was going to happen. So he already made a way back for Adam and his descendants to come back to him into the garden. And we'll see that in a minute. Continuing from verse 9. But in my mercy I have made you as you are when you transgress my commandment. O Adam, I drove you from the garden and made you come forth into this land, and commanded you to live in this cave, and darkness covered you, as it did over him who transgressed my commandment. Thus, O Adam, has this night deceived you. It is not to last forever, but it is only of 12 hours. When it is over, daylight will return. So this darkness that Adam is complaining about is nighttime. It's a temporary darkness. The darkness that Satan has over him is a permanent darkness. He lives in forever night. But Adam and his descendants, meaning us, we have a chance to be redeemed from this darkness. So that's the difference between Satan's darkness and the darkness that we were born into. Okay? But this physical darkness that Adam was complaining about, called night, because he had never seen night before, he did not understand that it was only temporary and it only lasts up to 12 hours at that point of time that he transgressed the law. Moving on, verse 11. Do not sigh or be moved, and do not say in your heart that this darkness is long and drags on wearily. Do not say in your heart that I plague you with it. Strengthen your heart and be not afraid. This darkness is not a punishment. So you see the difference between the darkness, right? There's a difference between the darkness. Adam, I have made the day, I have placed the sun in it to give light in order that you and your children should do your work. Verse 13. For I knew you would sin and transgress and come out into this land. Yet I wouldn't force you, nor ride hard over you, nor shut up, nor doom you through your fall, nor through your coming out from the light into darkness, nor yet through your coming from the garden into this land. Right? Their punishment was that he took the light away and he had to take him out of the garden. That was their punishment. Now, the consequences of him doing that, right, is not an ongoing punishment. It is just consequences now that they have to deal with. So he's explaining to them, I'm not riding hard over you. I'm not angry with you because no, you're out of the garden and into this land, right? I'm not shutting you up, nor or dooming you through your fall, right? That is past. I have punished you already, and your punishment is the light taken out of you and you being taken out of the garden. That was your punishment, and that's it. Verse 14. For I made you of the light, and I willed to bring out children of light from you that are like you. So you see, the Father already had a plan that even though they're going to fall, he is going to receive them back to himself again at some point in time, along with their righteous descendants. He already had it all planned out from the very beginning. Verse 15. But you did not keep my commandment one day, according to the heavenly the testimonies of the heavens. Because one day in the heavens is as 1,000 years on the earth. So that's why he said, you did not keep my commandment one day, until I had finished the creation and blessed everything in it. Then concerning the tree, I commanded you not to eat of it. Yet I knew that Satan, who deceived himself, would also deceive you. So this was not a surprise to the Most High. So when he said ayaka, he wanted Adam to recognize, I've done something wrong. That's why I'm hiding. Verse 17. So I made known to you by means of the tree not to come near him. And I told you not to eat of the fruit thereof, nor to taste of it, nor yet to sit under it, nor to yield to it. Had I not spoken to you, O Adam, concerning the tree? And had I left you without commandment, and you had sinned, it would have been an offense on my part for not having given you any order. You would have turned around and blamed me for it. But I commanded you and warned you, and you fell, so that my creatures cannot blame me, but the blame rests on them alone. And O Adam, I have made the day so that you and your descendants can work and toil in it. and I have made the night for them to rest in it. So night is not evil, people. I've heard people say the Shabbat cannot be inclusive of day and night. It is only daytime hours. I've never heard anything so ridiculous in my life. Right? Night is not evil. It's right here in plain language. He created nighttime, the darkness, for us to rest from all their work, and for the beast of the field to go forth by night and look for food. So while we're sleeping in our beds, the animals, the nocturnal animals, are out there looking for their food. Verse 21, but little darkness now remains, O Adam, and daylight will soon appear. Chapter 52 of the first book of Adam and Yahawah, verse 1 to 8. After this, Adam and Yahawah said no more, but cried before Elohim because of their creation and their bodies that required an earthly covering. So now, they are covered with flesh, and they need to be covered in some form of a garment. Because up to this time, I believe they were still covered in fig leaves. Then Adam said to Yahawah, Yahawah, this is the skin of beasts with which we shall be covered. But when we put it on, we shall be wearing a sign of death on our bodies, just as the owners of these skins have died and have decomposed, so shall we die and pass away. Then Adam and Yahawah took the skins and went back to the cave of treasures. When they were in it, they stood and prayed, as was their habit. And they thought how they could make garments of those skins, because they had no skill. Then Elohim sent to them his angel to show them how to accomplish this. And the angel said to Adam, go out and bring some palm thorns. Then Adam went out and brought some, as the angel had commanded him. Then the angel began before them to work the skins after the manner of one who prepares a shirt. And he took the thorns and stuck them into the skins before their eyes. Then the angel again stood up and prayed to Elohim that the thorns in those skins should be hidden, so as to be as if they were sewn with one thread. And so it was, by Elohim's order, and they became garments for Adam and Yahawah, and he clothed them with the skins. From that time, the nakedness of their bodies were covered from the sight of each other's eyes. And this happened at the end of the 51st day. And this is the 51st day of them leaving the Garden of Eden. Now, this is the way how they got garments. They got the skins, they got the palm thorns, and then they prayed. And the Most High did the rest, right? He hid the thorns and made it like one continuous thread in the garment. And I believe that is what they had to do for their children and their children's children, until the knowledge came where they can actually physically make a garment with their two hands. Adam and Yahawah were clothed in brutish flesh first, meaning human flesh, before they were clothed in animal skins. The reason why Elohim calls it brutish skin is because it is a high maintenance skin or flesh, right? It has two components to it. The physical aspect, where it needs to be washed, it needs water, food, and craves sex. And if it is not kept under submission, it will crave things that will oppose the commandments of Ha'olah Yawan, meaning the Most High. The spiritual aspect of our flesh is what Satan has under his control because of its sin nature. This is the true nature of this brutish flesh we are all living in. Elohim did not make it this way, but sin has. It is weak and demands control over the person if it is allowed. It falls easily to temptations, it has vain imaginations, it creates gods that permits it to continue in all its evil inclinations, and it hates to submit to Elohim. It uses deceit, denial, excuses, and many other techniques to stay alive and in control. Of course, its control system is the heart and then the mind. If both are working together, temptation will become sin. But if they, meaning your heart and your mind, oppose each other, there is a very good chance that a person can avoid this from happening, meaning succumbing to temptation and falling to sin. This is why Elohim was warning Cain that sin was at the door of his heart. He had the power at that time to reject it, but he succumbed. Hamashiach warned us that it is not what a man eats that defiles him, but what comes from within his heart. You will see these scriptures later on in the presentation. Shaddai had to take Adam and Hawa out of the garden for their own protection and preservation. If they had eaten of the tree of life in their fallen state, then they would have been eternally damned. But by sending them out, he had given them a chance to be redeemed back to him and be restored back to their bright nature, and not only them, but their future righteous descendants. So this is again the first book of Adam and Hawa, chapter 37, from verse 1 to 10. Then Adam said to Hawa, "Do you not see these figs and their leaves with which we covered ourselves when we were stripped of our bright nature? But now we do not know what misery and suffering may come to us from eating of them. Now therefore, Hawa, let us restrain ourselves and not eat them. Let us ask Elohim to give us of the fruit of the tree of life." No, they want to eat of the tree of life. When they were in the garden, and the Most High told them, of all the trees you can eat freely, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat it, lest you shall die. No, they're asking his permission. No, they're thinking, having these thoughts, right? So Adam began to pray to Elohim and to beg him to give him of the fruit of the tree of life, saying, "O Elohim, when we transgressed your commandment at the 6th hour of the 5th day, we were stripped of the bright nature we had and did not continue in the garden after our transgression more than 3 hours. But in the evening you made us come out of it. O Elohim, we transgressed against you 1 hour, and all these trials and sorrows have come over us until this day. And those days together with this, the 43rd day, do not redeem that 1 hour in which we transgressed. O Elohim, look at us with an eye of pity and do not avenge us according to our transgression of your commandment in your presence." Right? They're thinking that, okay, well, we transgressed that 1 hour, and for the last 43 days, we have been suffering. Right? Please, can we overcome, or can you take this suffering away from us? Because we have already spent 43 days. Can we say to you, we only transgressed for 1 hour, so let these 43 days be satisfied or satisfactory to you for that 1 hour, right? They didn't understand the ramifications of them breaking that covenant. They didn't understand. They think, okay, I think we've suffered enough. We've suffered long enough. But it's not about how long they were suffering. It is about the Most High when they committed the sin, when they transgressed his commandment, it set certain wheels turning that cannot be stopped. Right? They cannot go back to where they were before just because they spent 43 days lamenting about what they've done. Because the Most High already had it laid out right before him. And we know that his word cannot return to him void, but every word that he speaks must be fulfilled. O Elohim, give us of the fruit of the tree of life, that we may eat and live and turn not to see suffering and other troubles in this earth. For you are Elohim. When we transgressed your commandment, you made us come out of the garden and sent a cherub to keep the tree of life, so that we should not eat thereof and live, and know nothing of faintness after we transgress. But now, O Yahawah, behold, we have endured all these days and have borne sufferings. Make these 43 days an equivalent for the 1 hour in which we transgress. That's what they wanted. They thought, okay, we've suffered long enough. Please take us out of our misery. We want to go back into the garden. We want to eat of the tree of life now. No, we want it. Chapter 38, verse 1 to 8. After these things, the word of Allah came to Adam and said to him, Adam, as to the fruit of the tree of life that you have asked for, I will not give it to you now, but only when the 5,500 years are fulfilled. At that time, I will give you fruit from the tree of life, and you will eat and live forever, both you and Yahawah, and also your righteous descendants. But these 43 days cannot make amends for the 1 hour in which you transgressed my commandment. Adam, I give you the fruit of the fig tree in which you hid yourself for you to eat. So you and Yahawah go and eat it. I will not deny your request, neither will I disappoint your hope. Therefore, endure until the fulfillment of the covenant I made with you. So he made a new covenant with them. And the new covenant has to do with the 5,500 years. And Allah withdrew his word from Adam. After Adam and Yahawah left the garden, Allah in his great mercy made another covenant with them. He made them a promise that after they fulfill the required 5,500 years, they will be returned to the garden along with their righteous descendants. So let us look at this new covenant that Allah made with Adam and Yahawah. So in chapter 3, from verse 1 to 7, Allah said to Adam, I have ordained days and years on this earth, and you and your descendants shall live and walk in them until the days and years are fulfilled. Then I will send the word, and that word in capital with a capital W is speaking of Hamashiach. Then I shall send the word that created you and against which you have transgressed. The word that made you come out of the garden and that raised you when you were fallen. Yes, this is the word that will again save you when the 5.5 days are fulfilled. But when Adam heard these words from Allah and of the great 5.5 days, he did not understand the meaning of them. For Adam was thinking there would be only 5.5 days for him until the end of the world. And Adam cried and prayed to Allah to explain it to him. Then Allah in his mercy for Adam, who was made after his own image and likeness, explained to him that these were 5,500 years, and how the one, speaking of Hamashiach, would then come and save him and his descendants. But before that, Allah had made this covenant with our father Adam in the same terms before he came out of the garden, when he was by the tree where Yahawah took off the fruit and gave it to him to eat. So even before they left the garden, Allah Yahawah, made a new covenant with Adam and Yahawah. He told them, after the 5,500 years are fulfilled, then I'm going to bring you back, you and your righteous descendants. Allah in his great mercy was giving Adam a glimpse of the future for him and his descendants. The 5,500 years are prophetic years to be fulfilled before Hamashiach comes to the earth a second time for his millennium reign. Yes, the 5,500 years are short 500 years, but do not confuse Yahawah's prophetic clock with the actual time clock. Yahawah will and can start and stop his prophetic clock according to his prophetic events. This is the clock that he stops, but time will keep on ticking. For this reason, the 500 years that seem missing are not really missing, but they are called gap years. These gap years fill the gaps between the prophetic events, and therefore time is not altered. But why 6,000 years before the millennium reign? When Adam fell, he did not fulfill his one day according to the testimonies of the heavens, because one day in the heavens is the equivalent of 1,000 years on the earth. And I did a piece on that about the millennium reign. I did a presentation, so check it out. Adam lived to be 930 years, 70 years short of 1,000 years. Now Hamashiach will come and fulfill this in his millennium reign to bring us all to his day of rest, which is the seventh day, or the Shabbat day, or the 7,000th year on the earth. So do you understand why the Shabbat is so important? I also have another presentation on that. I have a more detailed lesson on this called the Millennium Reign of Hamashiach, and also the Yawam HaShabbat. This is the reason why Allah told Adam that now he has to wait until Hamashiach, the Word, comes and restores Adam and his righteous descendants during this time. Revelation 20 from verse 4 to 6. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahawah, that is the name of our Hamashiach, and for the word of Allah, and had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Mashiach 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that has part in the first resurrection. On such the second death has no power, but they shall be priests of Allah and of Mashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. This is the millennium reign. This is the hope that Allah gave to Adam and Yahawah, that these 5,500 years must be fulfilled not only by them, but by their descendants as well. This is our hope for today. This is what we are earnestly looking forward to very soon. And most importantly, this is what Allah wants for us. He had prepared a way for us to be redeemed back to him through this initial covenant with Adam and Hawa. Chapters 26, verse 9 to 15. Then the word of Allah came to Adam and said to him, Adam, regarding the sun, if I were to take it and bring it to you, days, hours, years, and months will all stop, and the covenant I have made with you would never be fulfilled. So giving you a little idea of why the Most High, Allah is saying this to Adam, is because Adam did not want to see the nighttime. He wanted the sun to always be shining, right? He did not want nighttime. He did not want darkness. So the Most High is explaining to him why he has to go through the darkness as well as the light. Verse 10, and you would be deserted and stuck in a perpetual plague and would never be saved. So the reason why he has the sun, he has the light and the day and the night, so that time can progress. So that the 5,500 years can be spent, can be fulfilled. Verse 10 again. And you will be deserted and stuck in a perpetual plague, and you would never be saved. Yes, rather bear up long and calm your soul while you live night and day until the fulfillment of the days and the time of my covenant has come. Then I shall come and save you, Adam. I do not wish for you to be afflicted. And when I look at all the good things that you lived in before and why you came out of them, then I am willing to show you mercy. So through it all, the Most High was having great mercy and pity towards Adam and Hawa. They made their mistake, he punished them, and now he's showing them his mercy. But I cannot alter the covenant that has gone out of my mouth Otherwise, I would have brought you back into the garden. However, when the covenant is fulfilled, then I will show you and your descendants mercy and bring you into a land of gladness where there is neither sorrow nor suffering, but abiding joy and gladness and light that never fails, and praises that never cease, and a beautiful garden that will never pass away. In other words, I'm going to bring you back to the garden. Chapter 10, verse 8. This is still in the same book, first book of Adam and Hawa. But Allah said to Adam, I have made you a promise. When that promise is fulfilled, I will bring you back into the garden, you and your righteous descendants. So all I'm doing is showing you that the Most High made a solemn promise and a covenant with Adam and Hawa that he's going to bring us back to his garden. Yahawah Allah is true to his promises and especially his covenants that he makes with us. As he is true to his covenant, he expects us to be just as true to keeping our end of the covenant. This calls for obedience and patience. As we can see from the simplicity of Allah's covenant with Adam and Hawa, there were no requirements except to be obedient to his command. And as simple as that command was for Adam and Hawa, it became the source of their temptation because their hearts were already questioning the validity of the commandment. Remember, temptation starts in the heart first and then works its way upward to the mind, where we justify the evil that we are tolerating in our heart. Satan knew by manipulating Allah's command that he could easily draw them into the darkness where he is. He started off by planting the seed of doubt by using the word did. Did he say that? And sometimes he would use the word if. Both function to stir up doubts and subsequently rebellion. Adam and Hawa were experiencing the difficulties of living outside the garden, which came as severe shocks to them. They were so shocked they died many times. They were surprised at the dramatic changes their bodies were going through and feared the worst because of these changes, and rightfully so. Chapter 39 of first book of Adam and Hawa, verse 1 to 5. Then Adam turned to Hawa and said to her, Get up and take a fig for yourself, and I will take the other, and let us go to our cave. Then Adam and Hawa each took a fig and went toward the cave. The time was about the setting of the sun, and their thought made them long to eat of the fruit, because they were hungry. Adam said to Hawa, I'm afraid to eat of this fig. I do not know what may come over me from it. Now they're showing fear. They should have been fearful to transgress that one commandment, but they weren't. Now they're showing fear. So Adam cried and stood praying before Allah. Now this is what they should have done when they were in the garden and Satan come to them with the temptation. They should have stood up right there and started praying. But no, they did not do that. So he stood praying before Allah, saying, Satisfy my hunger without my having to eat this fig, because after I have eaten it, what will it profit me? And what shall I desire and ask of you, O Allah, when it is gone? And he said again, I'm afraid to eat of it, for I do not know what will befall me through it. Now he's afraid of eating the fruit. Chapter 40, verse 1 to 3. Then the word of Allah came to Adam and said to him, Adam, why didn't you have this trepidation or this will to fast or this care before now? And why didn't you have this fear before you transgressed? These are very good questions. But when you came to live in this strange land, your animal body could not survive on earth without earthly food to strengthen it and to restore its powers. And Allah withdrew his word from Adam. After his fall, Adam is now fearful and hesitant to eat. He's hungry. He's never been hungry before, because while they were in the Garden of Eden, they never felt hunger. They never felt thirst. They never felt cold. They never felt heat. They never saw darkness. Their eyes could see into the spiritual realm. There were no limitations to what they could not do or see. But here they are. They're being very limited. Before in the garden, Adam and Hawa did not feel hunger, neither thirst, cold, neither heat, and they never knew darkness. Same thing I said before, I'm repeating myself. Sin entered into their lives, and now they are constantly fearful, feeling ashamed, feeling hunger and thirst, feeling sexual attraction, feeling the elements of heat and cold. When they were in the garden, they were living in the light and were blissfully happy until now, this moment, and for the rest of their lives. They are constantly fighting against temptations and fear. They were constantly fighting against temptations and fears. And this is our life today, amplified. But thanks be to Yahawah and Hamashiach, who have given us a way to bear up under the stress of living in a sinful world. For this reason, it is very necessary to be in covenant with the one and only who can help us bear up under the heavy strain of temptations and sin. Sin brings shame. Sin also breaks covenants, whether with each other or with Ha'olah Yawan. Since Adam and Hawa left the Garden of Eden, it had been the plan of the Most High to return us to his garden as it is paradise, and his sanctuary, which is the tabernacle, is there. Book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 3 to 6. Second Baruch. This building now built in your midst is not that which is revealed with me, that which was prepared beforehand here, from the time when I took counsel to make paradise and showed it to Adam before he sinned. But when he transgressed the commandment, it was removed from him, as also paradise. And after these things I showed it to my servant Abraham by night amongst the allotted victims. This is when he had to sacrifice the animals and the birds, and he was in an ecstasy. And the Father gave him the prophecy of the 400 years that his descendants were going to go through the slavery for 400 years. Right? And again, also I showed it to Masha, which is Moses, on Mount Sinai, where I showed him the likeness of the tabernacle and all its vessels. And now behold, it is preserved with me as also is paradise. So anyone that tells you that the Garden of Eden is found this place in Africa or this place somewhere else, they're lying to you, because the Garden of Eden, which is his sanctuary, his personal sanctuary, his tabernacle, is with him. He took it up off the earth. It is no longer on the earth. He said, it is now preserved with me, as also is paradise. All right? Do not believe anyone that tells you, oh, the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Eden is in South Africa or some other place in Africa. That's not true. It is a lie. The one unspoken covenant that Adam and Hawa had with Elohim had only one commandment attached to it, to keep them righteous before him. This is what it's all about, folks, is to keep us righteous and holy before him. If they had obeyed his commandment, they would not have fallen into sin. But thankfully, Shaddai knew that they would fall and made a way back for them and for us, their righteous descendants, by making another covenant with Adam. And you will see that there were a couple other covenants that were made to preserve us as a people. This one is more of a broad spectrum covenant, but the Most High, what he did later on with the 12 tribes of Yasharaal is to tailor it to a more specific covenant. And then after that, he tailored it even more for the future descendants that were coming. That covenant was a promise to return them and their righteous descendants to paradise and his tabernacle, aka the Garden of Eden. And this is the ending of part 1. Please stay tuned to part 2. Shalom.